In many old European tales, the mill stands between wilderness and home, making it a powerful symbol of risk and survival. I will make you rich if you promise me what stands behind your mill. The poor man thought only of the tree behind the mill, never imagining the promise would reach farther than bark and apples.
The girl was standing behind the mill, not the tree, and you have promised our child.
Clean hands often symbolized innocence in old folklore, where purity was believed to guard the soul more strongly than armor. I cannot touch her while she is so pure. The devil demanded that no water remain in the house, yet sorrow itself would become the stream that protected her. Her tears fell like a living blessing, and the evil bargains still could not reach her.
Father, if this must be, do it, and may God forgive us all.
In many old tales, the severing of hands represents the loss of worldly power, yet also the beginning of spiritual endurance. The father could not heal what he had done, but kindness still lingered in the way he prepared her for the road. She left not in anger, but in faith, carrying nothing except endurance and the hope of divine mercy. Travelers in old fairy tales often entered the forest not only to become lost, but to be remade. When human help fails in sacred tales, the bridge often appears through grace rather than strength. By the way, medieval orchard walls protected valuable fruit, and pears were prized symbols of nourishment, patience, and quiet abundance. She ate as gently as a bird, taking only what mercy placed within reach. The king saw not a thief in the orchard, but a mystery marked by hardship and grace. Are you a spirit, or a sorrowing maiden sent here by heaven?
I am only a poor girl abandoned by misfortune, yet God has not abandoned me.
By the way, palace gardens in medieval stories often represent ordered grace, a contrast to the wild forests where exile begins. The king would not let her remain dishonored, and he ordered hands of silver crafted with the finest care. You shall be honored here, and no wound will make you less beloved. Their marriage rose not from beauty alone, but from mercy, courage, and the will to see dignity where others saw ruin. By the way, silver was often linked with purity and the moon, making it a fitting symbol of protection in old folklore. Whatever sorrow brought you here, let joy now learn your name. Her faith did not vanish when fortune changed. In fairy tales, true character is measured by what remains unchanged after suffering. I must ride to war, but my heart remains here with you and our child to come. The longest journeys in fairy tales often begin when love and danger move in opposite directions.
Have courage, dear child, for this house will guard you as one of its own.
By the way, swaddling cloths were widely used in medieval households, because people believed firm wrapping helped protect and steady an infant. A letter carried by horse could decide the fate of kingdoms, and in fairy tales, written words are often as dangerous as swords. Evil could not conquer her by touch, so it turned instead to deception. A monster born to my queen cannot be true, yet I must answer with mercy and care. Mother, protect the queen and child at all costs. By the way, wax seals were crucial in medieval communication, because a broken or altered seal could reveal betrayal or tampering. He changed mercy into murder with a forged command, turning love into a trap by means of ink and fear.
I will never raise my hand against an innocent mother and child.
To save the living, she used a bitter deception, proving that mercy in fairy tales sometimes wears the face of painful necessity.
Go into the wide world with your child, and may heaven guide the path I cannot walk for you.
By the way, exile is one of the oldest fairy tale patterns, marking the moment when a heroine must build identity far from inherited shelter. The deeper she entered the wilderness, the more the world seemed to test whether hope could survive hunger and fear. Divine helpers in old tales rarely arrive with noise. They enter quietly, restoring direction before strength returns.
A house of refuge awaited her in the wilderness, simple and holy, as though mercy itself had built walls against despair.
Rest here without fear, for you and your child are under divine protection.
By the way, cradle songs and rocking rituals appear in many folk traditions because rhythm was believed to calm both child and spirit. Seasons began to heal what violence had broken, teaching patience one sunrise at a time.
Woodland herbs such as sage, thyme, and yarrow were treasured in old households for healing, cooking, and household blessing.
Every hardship had taught her to look upward before looking outward. While she slept beneath divine care, flesh and blood began returning like spring after a merciless winter. By the way, restored hands symbolize more than healing in folklore. They represent the return of agency, dignity, and rightful place in the world. Time had transformed exile into a hidden home where innocence could grow unharmed.
Plant gently, my son, because what is rooted with care grows strong and kind.
Guardians in sacred fairy tales are often visible only in moments of stillness, when fear is quiet enough for grace to be seen. Needlework in old households was not only practical labor, but a sign of patience, care, and domestic resilience.
Mother, will my father ever find us in this hidden forest home?
What is meant in love is never lost forever, and heaven knows the road between true hearts.
Victory meant little to him, for absence can outlast battle long after trumpets fall silent.
Your wife and child were not dead, my son, for I sent them away to save them from a wicked command.
The truth emerged not through battle, but through careful reading, proof that evil had hidden itself inside language. I will search every road and forest until I find my wife and child, or else I will die as a pilgrim on the way. By the way, medieval pilgrimage clothing signaled humility, showing that the traveler sought grace rather than status. He searched where roads vanished into weather, because grief gives courage to feet that comfort would never move. Have you seen a woman traveling with a child, hidden perhaps by sorrow and heaven alike? Many roads offered rumors, but none gave certainty, and so the search continued year after year. By the way, embroidered cloths were often treasured family keepsakes, carrying memory, status, and affection across long separations. 7 years passed, and steadfast love turned the king into a legend of wandering devotion. Compassion did not delay his search, it deepened it, for suffering had taught him to recognize the hungry and the lost. In sacred storytelling, the smallest sign can redirect an entire destiny when the heart is ready to understand it. By the way, ancient forests in European folklore often serve as thresholds where the human world meets the divine and the unknown.
Eat, rest, and follow me, for the ones you seek are near.
Hospitality in old tales is a sacred act, turning strangers into recognized souls before names are ever spoken. The child saw only a tired stranger, yet destiny often arrives in fairy tales wearing the dust of long roads. By the way, recognition objects such as rings, cloths, and tokens are central in folk tales because memory often travels farther than names. She knew before a word was spoken that the weary pilgrim beneath the tree was her husband. Tell me, who are you, whose faces feel like home to a heart that has wandered too long?
It can't be true.
I am your wife, and this is your son, and heaven has kept us until this hour.
The proof of suffering and the proof of healing rested together, showing how grace had completed what compassion first began. By the way, angels in European sacred art often appear at reunions and rescues, marking the moment when hidden providence becomes visible. Bread and salt traditions across Europe long symbolized welcome, loyalty, and the sacred duty to protect a guest or family member. My son, I searched through 7 years of road and storm to hold you at last. The road that once led into exile now became the road home. News of their return spread ahead of them like sunrise over stone.
Welcome home, beloved child, for every day without you has been a prayer unfinished.
By the way, bells in medieval towns often marked moments of royal arrival, victory, thanksgiving, and public joy. Their first act after returning was gratitude, because rescue feels deepest when it is recognized as a gift. Votive objects and relic chests were often kept to remember danger survived, healing received, and promises fulfilled.
This garden once fed my hunger in secret, and now it greets us openly in peace.
By the way, fruit trees in folklore often symbolize memory, nourishment, and the turning of hardship into blessing. Time had aged the father heavily, for guilt can grind a heart more harshly than any millstone.
We have not come to accuse, but to forgive, and to let peace enter where sorrow once lived.
Child, I wronged you beyond measure. And yet your goodness returns to me when I deserve only grief.
Sharing bread is one of the oldest signs of restored trust, because people who eat at one table agree to leave violence outside the door.
Evil could tempt, wound, and deceive, but it could not rule a house reclaimed by forgiveness and divine protection.
By the way, heavenly light defeating shadow is one of the oldest visual symbols in sacred storytelling, representing truth overcoming hidden malice. Joy returned to the kingdom not as careless laughter, but as a hard-won peace shared by all.
Let your hands build kindness in the world. For what we make with care can heal what fear once broke.
Children in fairy tales often transform the symbols of family pain into toys of peace, proving that healing can reshape memory itself.
Let all remember that truth has returned with my queen and son, and no false word shall stain their honor again.
When the forged letters turned to ash, the court released the last visible trace of the devil's deception and made room for honest memory.
What began in poverty, fear, and betrayal ended in a household made strong by mercy, faith, and steadfast love.
By the way, fairy tales endure because they give visible form to invisible truths. Innocence can survive violence, love can outwalk despair, and grace can restore what seems forever lost.